sorry, I had to cut and paste a bit here. So on top of the ordinance, my concern is still about the noise level and the vibration. I've also recently heard other townships talking about a waiver option, which would allow non-participating landowners to waive setbacks to their properties if they so choose, rather than making us all have shorter setbacks. So anyway, thank you. That's it.
All right. Hold on, any questions? All right, Lisa, go ahead. Yep, in the man.
Okay, Thomas Kepke, also from Douglas Township. Numbers do matter. The gentleman there mentioned a few. I'd like to add a couple to that. One is that there's this supposedly this tax windfall that people talk about. Well, I think the Morning Sun newspaper in Mount Pleasant just reported recently that the state tax commission ruled against Huron County Township by drastically reducing the amount of taxes due. Gratiot Isabella counties, along with 80 township school districts, libraries, and individuals and other municipalities are challenging this ruling because it creates a situation for them where they may have to give back millions of dollars like Huron. I think Huron's giving back $3 million when these wind turbines are reevaluated and devalued, which happens in this business. There's a lot of potential other failures in this particular, the 2017, which is I think the one that's on the books right now. It's hard to tell which one is in play because a couple of weeks ago the 2020 was up there and then the 2017 wasn't there. Now I think from what I heard it's changed. But if you look at those, I think as compared to the citizens ordinance, at least there's numbers in there. Another number that's in there that's not in the other two ordinances, which is the amount of money put in escrow to repair the roads and the damage done to the township as they build these things. And that, I think, is just open to whatever Apex decides, as opposed to what's put in the citizens ordinance, the $2.5 million in escrow, which I think is reviewed regularly to see if that's enough money. Those are just a couple of things that is in the citizens ordinance that should be in whatever ordinance we have moving forward. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I'm Sharon Van Loon. I have a place in Douglas Township. I just want to second what Tom just said. I just read a press release from June 22, 2021, dealing with the litigation and the tax that we are expecting to collect back from the turbines. DTE went after the townships and the counties and have won the depreciation scale. So instead of having a long tax benefit from the turbines, they are revaluing these so quickly that the tax refund is lost to the township. The money is not going to come back to us for our schools or our roads. And so I would suggest that you find this news and read it and be familiar with what's happening. Because DTE is who owns these turbines eventually, and other power companies. And I just feel like we're not going to get what we're expected to get.
Ma'am, the black and white dress, do you have anything?
Vicki Douglas, 13654 Road. I would go crazy if there was a lawnmower running in my yard for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, lawnmowers, I'm on my back seat, turn it on, turn it off. Can't turn the noise off, it's ridiculous. I've heard about funds improved Gratiot County Services. That's terrific. But how much of that money does Gratiot have to give back after this tax tribunal and the state changing the tax code? I read they can change that again in 7 years. So, you know, if we're told a certain amount now, what's it going to be in 7 years? I tried to find this because I knew my time was coming up. I couldn't find your decommissioning. I know when a person rents a home, they have to pay a deposit, and you're expected to, when you move out, leave it the way you found it. Decommissioning, I think that's how it should be. Leave the land the way you found it. And that's all.
Pick up this corner now, starting with the woman holding the camera? Nope. Okay, coming back that direction. No, yes, sir.
Eric Selm, we own property in Douglas Township. I didn't plan on speaking, but there was a couple of points that I wanted to try to offer a little bit of support to. One being the gold standard of an ordinance. I'm a supervisor in another township somewhere in the state of Michigan, and when we're looking to write an ordinance, that's what we do. We go to look for a gold standard ordinance and then use the pieces of it that fit our township. So I don't see a problem with that. Going over to what we were just talking about. The question is, has anyone asked, or is there a reason why it can't be put on a ballot? I mean, I understand that you need an ordinance, and the ordinance has to allow it in some respect, but I would think you could put it on a ballot because it should be, the oath I took was to run the township in the manner that the residents, the majority of the residents would want it done. So taking it out of the boards, this board and the Board of Trustees' hands would be putting it on a ballot and giving them a choice of this or that. Not yes or no, this or that. And I would be willing to bet that most people here, if you ask them, reduce the ordinance to where it would be impractical for the large wind and increase property taxes versus the ordinance as it was original or as it stands today and keep property taxes the way it is, I would bet they'd probably rather increase their own property taxes.
Agreed.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna address that point for a minute because the township board has.
Louder.
I want to address this point of putting it on the ballot because township board members has mentioned to me that that's come up several times. That is not a permissible way to do things under Michigan law. Townships or any municipality are not allowed to put an advisory question on a ballot about whether we should adopt this ordinance or not, or ordinance A or ordinance B. There is no initiative process for township ordinances. What there is a referendum process, meaning that once a zoning ordinance has been adopted, there is a procedure by which, if enough signatures are collected, township voters can then put that on the ballot to decide whether it should become effective or not. Okay, but it has to be adopted first by the board before that referendum process can be invoked. So, just so nobody else brings up that same subject again, asking for it, it can't be done, okay? All right, moving on. Ma'am, no, not you. Moving on.
You still have time.
No, sorry. You
Sit
sat down.
down.
All right, moving on.
Sit down.
Commissioner Bradmore, go ahead.
Yes, David Ellis, 71 Sunny Trail, Montcalm Township. I want the commission to consider that what they do here affects not just this township, but it affects the entire county, and to take that under consideration. I'd also like to see maybe a moratorium on the applause and rudeness going on in this meeting. We had 40 minutes of discussion for something nobody disagreed with on the moratorium. So, I mean, we don't need these wastes of time. This document is 20 pages long. I've read every single word in here. I've tried to understand how these clauses are in conflict with each other. I don't know if Mr. Reddick has provided any kind of opinion as to whether this is actually enforceable or not, but I'd strongly suggest that you table any vote on this until you get better and clearer information about this, or shorten this ordinance down to something that just says there shall be no commercial wind systems, because that's what this means. It's not possible to build something the way these setbacks are in place. the way roads are laid out in any of the townships in Montcalm County, it would be impossible to put up a tower. That's all I have to say, because it would take 30 minutes for me to go through all the points that I've identified in this that are incorrect, inconsistent, and not enforceable. I mean, how many escrow accounts does this thing require that have to be set up and then maintained by the township? How much money are you requiring to be set aside per tower on this thing? Take a look at it, sum it up, see that it makes sense. Actually look at some of these numbers, understand what the differences are, rather than just how much applause you're getting from somebody about whether something shouldn't be put in place.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, and, I don't think I picked up, there's two women in the red dress and to your right. Does either of you want to speak? All right, let's bring up the people in the doorway there. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I want to piggyback a little bit on the gold standard ordinance and the now ability to remote.
Name.
Jeremy Cueco, Cato Township. But it should be common sense to start with a safer, stricter, however you want to word it, ordinance, and let any opposing party referendum it. It's not like you have a huge line of companies looking to install wind, it's just one. So by all means, it should be just common sense to start off safe and kind of go from there. If there is the need and the want for it, people will vote for it. That's all I got to say.
All right, thank you, sir.
Kim Freud, Grow Road, Douglas Township. I just want to thank you all. I can't imagine what you've all been through for the last year, honestly. I know that your hearts are all in the right place, trying to make the right decision for everybody. Thank you for the moratorium. It just makes sense. I came to the party late, and when I was here last week or last month, and I asked questions, and there were a lot of, I don't know. We'd have to look into that. So the year to look into that makes a lot of sense for everybody. So just thank you for what you did tonight.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else in the doorway who I didn't pick up? I know there's some I can't see. Anybody out there who wants to speak? No? In the maroon shirt? No? Okay, then let's, yes, sir, with your hand up. Go ahead.
Keith Phelps, Cleese Road, Stanton, Michigan, Douglas Township. I'm going to introduce a little new subject probably nobody knows anything about, electromagnetic field. Wind turbines do not transmit microwaves or radiation. The cell towers do. Once 5G rolls out fully, the vast majority of the population will be in the danger zone. Why? Because 5G creates a different frequency from 3G, 4G, with a shorter sine wave. Who invented 5G? The same people that invented the Chinese virus. So think about your health. The protesters should be more concerned about EMF than the wind turbines. Now we'll go to the wind turbines.